All right, welcome back to Blue by 90. I'm Justin, joined by Tanner today, and we are back. We are so back. We played Northwestern in 48 hours. We're 5-5, and we just do not care. We just
Don't care.
I'm sorry, but Bryce Underwood just flipped to Michigan. This has been a month-long drama story, but we are fucking back.
And we're so back. I broke out the Blantons here. I got the N on this horse. Going to try to build that collection over time. But you know what? I don't have a Michigan rocks glass, unfortunately. But I'm just going to go ahead, let's pour myself a little bit of nice Kentucky straight bourbon here, and just really enjoy. I thought that was filled up to the brim almost, and it kind of scared me. I saw there was ice in there.
I've got Larceny bourbon. If you want to sponsor the pod, let us know. Bland's, if you want to sponsor the pod, let us know. Cheers, baby. Cheers. You know, I'm already that tasted so good.
So good.
I am expecting some Ohio State fan is gonna clip this and just like keep it in their arsenal for a long time. That's fine. I don't care.
I don't know. I just would hope that they don't care that much, you know. Also,
No,
hey,
but
River,
you know
wait. Where's the guy that was? Oh, you guys drink ciders, brother. Neat, big dog. Cheers.
Come on. I mean, what a moment. This is the biggest recruiting win, I believe, in Michigan history. Because right before this, we talked about it. Obviously, Rashawn Gary was the last 5-star that we last number one player for us to get. But it's a lot different when you have the QB instead of a DM.
Do you know the last 5-star quarterback Michigan got a commitment from?
I believe he won the national championship.
He did.
So,
Top 10 pick, JJ McCarthy. So
you know, one thing leads to another. If you can connect the dots there, I believe we will. You know, you can predict. You can make some predictions.
Can I make our boy Sean McGee tweeted the Domino's gif, which is fitting. Domino's is headquartered in Ann Arbor. This is great.
I mean, that is. I already saw a crystal ball flip for Derek Meadows, who was an LSU wide receiver commit, right? So Bryce,
he was at the Oregon game.
So that's big. Obviously, Eli Dotson committed yesterday, flipping from Pitt. So you have already pieces falling into place. The dominoes are falling. So really, really great to see. I mean, this is just, Jake Butt just texted me too. He's like, so you think they're going to go get an OC? I'm like, I'm pretty sure Sharon will get his pick of OC, because who does not want to coach Bryce Underwood, the number one player in the nation?
Can we take it back to when we made our video a few weeks ago, when this was all kind of coming to light and that there was a possibility this could happen? Do you remember what his comparison on 247 is from Andrew Ivins, who's the director of scouting? Do you remember the name?
I saw your tweet.
Okay.
Vince Young.
Vince Young. Also, I've heard people say Cam Newton. This isn't a 1-year rental, by the way. This is a 3-year guy.
I know it's not a portal guy. I mean, which is nice. Obviously, you never know what the future holds, because we've seen, Dante Moore was a gigantic, recruitment, and who knows? So I'm trying to stay as calm as possible because of that. But for Michigan, who has had issues, obviously this year the quarterback has been an issue. He's starting day one, right? So this sets you up.
Is he?
Now,
I mean, I understand the ramifications, but you have to go get a portal quarterback, right?
I think you do, but you don't have to go get a Dylan Gabriel. Does that make sense? You don't have to go get, even a Miller Moss could be a good guy that's good enough to start if Bryce is not ready, but you don't have to go get the number one guy in the portal. Does that make sense?
No, I totally get that. I think, there's some guys out there that would make some sense and could allow for Underwood to win a job, because whoever's the best player needs to play, right? And Bryce Underwood is essentially at this point not on that level, but kind of like a LeBron James type recruit, right? Just, from basketball to football. So I'm pretty stoked, man. This is pretty sick. We should do this more often. This is way more fun than the alternative. I'm really excited, and Justin's obviously over here hard at work trying to figure out what's going on next.
I'm getting a lot of texts from a lot of people about what to put out there and what not to put out there. So keep going.
I mean, I don't really know what else to say. Like this, I don't know. Like you try not to get too excited over particular recruitments and high school recruits in general, because you don't know how their game's going to translate. But I'll be honest, Justin, I haven't watched the film. I didn't want to hurt myself. I did not want to. I never thought from the moment that he stepped onto the stage as a recruit, whenever he was, 14, winning state championships as a true freshman in high school. I guess true freshman doesn't need to be said there, but I just never watched the film, man. I just never sat down. I've seen the highlights. I've seen the throws. I haven't sat there, and I'm not a quarterback guru, but like you kind of tell when okay, like JJ McCarthy's film, that ball came off different, right? So I'm excited to go watch that and just be like, oh, this guy's coming to Michigan. He's coming to Ann Arbor. And he's making that 20-mile jaunt down I-94, coming to play at the big house. Like that's exciting for the program, for the fan base, just to kind of revitalize everything, which again, we're 9 months removed from a national championship, so do not get it twisted. But this year,
nobody. I'm gonna go Portnoy for a second here. Nobody. It's been tough to be us for 9 months, right? We went through obviously a great run, but for us, you have to go through 9 whole months of struggle and hardship, and
still beat your rival though.
Still beat your rival in Michigan State. It is. So it's been really tough to be us. Props to us for getting through it. But now that we're back, it does feel pretty good.
It does, man. Feels good, like that Blanton's Kentucky Straight Bourbon going down. And it's a little spicy. Like if anybody sees my facial reactions after I take a sip, it's a little spicy.
Well, that's because you're used to just drinking cider.
I know. I know. That's not true. I've taken shots of Pink Whitney at the tailgate. The people know that.
That's not helping your case.
I know, it's a little self-deprecating humor there for you.
I like it.
Crazy though, man. I still like. It's kind of hard to fathom that this happened, and the fact that it came from Adam Schefter, who did he go live on ESPN?
Yes.
Okay, so in addition to the tweet, he's live on ESPN with the winged helmet behind him, and this is, I mean, just from you talk about NIL and the brand, and like this is like a perfect marriage. You think about a hometown kid. By the way, his video was awesome.
That video was, I tweeted it out. I got it sent to me right after he committed it and tweeted it out. Incredible. Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you for a second if that's okay.
Please.
But, I think I want to, you just mentioned like the status of NIL and talking about NIL at Michigan. And there have been a lot of opinions about NIL at Michigan, and valid. That's okay. Valid. Michigan was, I would say, quote unquote, slow to get there. You could say that. I actually think it was more strategic than slow. They didn't jump into things right like Texas A&M did. Obviously, they're in a much better spot because of that. But I think you're looking at right now a turn in NIL at Michigan. You can see that Sharon approaches this a lot differently than Jim Harbaugh did. And both things worked, obviously. Jim Harbaugh won a natty with it, right? But the way that this industry in college athletics is trending, I want to give a shout out to Champion Circle. I want to give a shout out to Jared Wangler, because without those people, none of this happens. None of this happens. And Michigan itself, the athletics department, I want to give them a shout out too, because for the first time, if I'm being honest, in the history of NIL, they are leading from the front, and they are doing a lot of things that they hadn't done in the past. And so it's really exciting if you're a Michigan fan. I know Jared specifically has been working behind the scenes at this for a really long time, months and months and months. And there were a lot of times, even as recent as last Friday, that this recruitment for Michigan was dead in the water, and it came back to life. I'd be lying if I said that LSU's performance on the field and on the sidelines this past weekend, that had a huge part in this flip. And so I also think just Sherrone Moore and the way that they're looking at things for the future is phenomenal. But Champion Circle has been there, since day one, right, for Michigan, and had been a huge part of it. They put out a memo, and so there are a ton of donors and boosters that have been there that have funded this thing, not just the Bryce commitment, but this program from the beginning of NIL, and they were a huge part of this commitment. And I want to say all that, but also, like, I want to give Jared a shout out specifically because it wasn't just about money. As much as money is always going to be a factor in a number one player's recruitment, right, in the year 2024 specifically, let alone pre-NIL. But he was able to build a relationship with this family and with this kid, and Champion Circle alongside it, and Sharon alongside it, Sean McGee, Albert Karshnia, a lot of those guys. And so the relationship side of it, if I'm being honest, I believe was more important to this family and to this kid than the money. Because let's be honest, he was getting offered the same amount of money or around similar money from a lot of different places. So just wanted to mention that because I think that this was an uphill battle from the beginning, and to win this is like, I mean, it's honestly unheard of, especially at Michigan.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of aspects in life and business and things like this, relationships are by far the number one way to, kind of earn someone's business, right? Michigan's earning his business in this scenario, which is him playing football. So, relationship building and building rapport and being able to connect with people, I think is extremely important. I don't know could you imagine building a rapport with Brian Kelly? I don't know if I could.
Dude, I mean, he's a loser. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, you just watch what he did. Just this, you take just what happened this weekend, and it's like, okay, he doesn't have a good relationship with his players, and then you add that on to everything you heard from his entire career at LSU, entire career at Notre Dame. I know people that played for him while he was at Grand Valley, and they say terrible things about him. He has a bad rap every step of the way. And it's catching up to him, right? And so I think that has a big piece to it. And, I was actually talking on the phone with Bryce Merritt the other night. Shout out Bryce. I love him. He is one of my two favorite Bryces out there for sure. Now. But he was saying it's crazy to say this with Michigan being 5-5 and everything being in turmoil that is this 2024 season for Michigan football. But if you look at Michigan versus LSU, Michigan has more stability in their coaching staff than LSU does right now. If LSU struggles in these last two games, Brian Kelly is possibly getting fired. And at the bare minimum, he's on the hot seat. Sharon Moore, I know everyone's upset with how things are going this year. They are not going to fire Sharon Moore after year one. They're going to give him time, So I think that has a lot to do with things here. Is that you can for sure know that Sharon Moore is going to be there at least 1 to 2 more years for Bryce to perform under him.
Absolutely, and we've talked about it, and I don't want to speculate on anyone's job. I never like to do that. But from Michigan's perspective, you can kind of start with a clean slate, right? Whereas Bryce is kind of more attached to Joe Sloan as a coordinator, and that offense has not performed up to expectations, right? They're similar to Michigan offensively, at least here recently, with probably more talented players. A quarterback, Mel Kiper, is top 5 at his position for the draft next year, and they are not good.
They're not good. We talked about it on the last pod that they're better statistically and on paper at every single position on offense outside of Colston Loveland, maybe Kalel, right? So, I think I think everything kind of came into perspective for Bryce and his family at the end of this, where you saw what was happening with LSU. You kind of looked at Michigan and how things could be in the future. And again, it's kind of wild to think about that, seeing as Michigan's sitting at 5-5. But you realize, like, Michigan with a decent quarterback, and not just a quarterback, because I don't want to put a lot of this on Davis Warren and Alex Orji. I think Davis has played phenomenal. Not phenomenal. Davis has played good enough for them to win it, right? But you look at this team right now, and they're 9-3 probably at minimum with a decent, just average offense. If they can score, if they can go down at Indiana, all they had to do was go 60 yards. And they win.
I told you that when they showed the shot overhead, looking towards the end zone, that looked like a lot of grass. It was a lot of grass for them. Yeah, that's how I was feeling.
Yeah, but I think that you put Bryce Underwood in that instance, along with a lot of the talent that's going to come with him, then you probably win that football game. And you're sitting at 9-3, and you're, looking at maybe the, possibly sneaking into the college football playoff. If anything, you're, on the brink of it. So, let's talk a little bit about next year, what this looks like for Michigan. Who's coming with Bryce now? How is this going to change this recruiting class and the portal?
I mean, immediately following the commitment of Bryce Underwood, Steve Wiltfong, who's the head of recruiting over at On3, long time at 247, one of the best source guys in recruiting in college football, put in a pick for Michigan to flip Derek Meadows, 5-star receiver, committed to LSU currently out of Bishop Gorman. And then also put in a flip. I don't know how related it is, but maybe just feeling the excitement of Bradley Gompers, who is a linebacker who's a 4-star. He's from the same high school as Cole Sullivan, who signed with Michigan this year. He's a freshman. So they're high school teammates. I mean, his film is ridiculous. The kid is a football player. There's rumors of Michigan working to flip one of Alabama's highest rated commits. They're one of their tackles. So who's a 5-star. So this is unprecedented times. Michigan's had success in recruiting. This is a lot of fun. And Justin, I wanted to bring this point up real quick. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter I don't want to hear about Michigan fans and paying players. Brother, I don't give a shit. Who cares? Michigan did it. Michigan won a national championship without going to the lengths of at least 10 to 15 schools in college football last year. Okay? I don't care. Michigan did that with one hand tied behind his back. What does Michigan look like, who has maybe the richest alumni base in the country? Again, not a Michigan alum. I don't want to spend other people's money. There's a lot of successful Michigan alums that got a lot of bread. What does it look like when that's fully equipped?
I agree with that. And I think, are you saying the Ohio State people talking about?
Yeah, I saw Oregon people saying it. Brother, I don't care. Michigan won a national championship without going to those lengths. What does it look like when they do?
Well, and I think here's what I would say. I truly feel this is how it went. Michigan did it by culture. A lot of people have said, big national media people have said that Michigan 2023 national championship team was the last true college football team that we have seen, right? Because it wasn't filled with millions of dollars. It wasn't filled with all this, right? You flip from that to 2024. Yes, we're going to clown on Ohio State for having a $20 million roster because, in my opinion, it was a direct response to Michigan winning the national championship.
While going undefeated, by the way, which Ohio State cannot do.
They cannot do because they've already lost the game. So now you flip the page to the offseason of 2024 that we're going into. And this is just the reality of where we're at right now, right? And so you're going to have to nut up and pay kids. That's just, we're going to have midway through 2025, revenue sharing is coming into play. So if you want to talk about that, let's talk. I don't care. This is going to it's not going to be a narrative anymore, right? I mean, yes, it could be a narrative in the fact that the Dodgers have a huge salary cap compared to the Tampa Bay Rays. Sure, if you want to talk about that. But when you're Michigan and Ohio State, this is what's going to happen. It's going to be across the board. And so that's just what the future looks like.
I'm certainly for it. I'm certainly all for Michigan being the boogeyman on the trail. Because how many times have we sat here over the last however many years, even pre-NIL, like you alluded to earlier, Michigan was leading for a player, big-time recruit, would have been a big-time player at a position of need, and somebody swooped in at the last minute. How many times have we seen that?
We've always been the other side. We've always been the other side, man.
Again, if you want to, I don't want to hear about transformational versus transactional. Cool. I don't give a shit, brother. Michigan won a national championship last year without doing it. Now, what does it look like when they go and do it? You got to be smart about it, Justin, right? To your point, got to have the culture. But I think people project things onto some of these high school kids. At the end of the day, they're high school kids. And yes, they're going to getting large sums of money to play football. But hey, man, when you're good at something, don't do it for free, right? So, but I see a lot of people kind of project things or assume things. when have you ever heard Bryce Underwood come out and never say anything? I mean, I know he put the Instagram story up. He probably just wanted people to get off of his back. He's a 17-year-old kid, man. And some of the reactions I've seen from Michigan fans for sure, but I saw a tweet from an LSU fan just saying some diabolical things. Like he did like a Twitter voice note, like wild. Sounded like a grown adult, crazy. Yeah, he seems like a great kid who hasn't really, I don't think I've ever seen him. I mean, I know he said some things about Michigan's passing game, but it's water under the bridge at this point, right? Who cares?
I mean, is he wrong though? Let's be let's be honest. There was as much as I love JJ McCarthy, we never really unleashed JJ McCarthy. So if I don't think he was wrong in what he was saying. And then if you're talking about this year, we all know what's going on with Michigan's passing game this year. So I think with that being said, I have to imagine that what comes with him committing means that they're probably going to open up the passing game and use him in a way that they have, we haven't seen a Michigan quarterback used in ever. Because even when it was Devin Gardner throwing to Jeremy Gallen for 500 yards, against Indiana, it's like they weren't really like slinging it. You know what I mean? It was still
they wanted to, but there were deficiencies with that team and that offense that caused some issues towards the end of the season. But yeah, that's the last time that Michigan has really opened up. There was a stat, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me, but somebody dissected JJ's stats. There was like however many games where they let him throw more, and like the stats are crazy because it's like 13 games is like 2,000 yards and like I don't know 15 or 20 touchdowns, and then the other games where they let him throw it, he was like 4,000 yards over 15 games, 40 touchdowns and 4 picks. And it's like, so he could have done it, right? But that's not what the recipe for success was last year. So it's like
what we did what we needed to do to win football games. There's a reason. I mean, I don't know Justin Herbert's stats off the top of my head, but they don't have him throwing 40 times a game, right? Like you look at, there's a reason. There's a very fine line of like, you want to sling it, but very few teams win when you have your quarterback throw it 30 times a game. Usually when you're throwing it 30 to 40 times a game, that means you're coming from behind. You have to come back quickly. You have to score quickly. So there's a reason still, like, anybody can shit on JJ's stats. I don't care. He doesn't care. That's for damn
the
sure.
Vikings didn't care.
The Vikings, what that was going to be my point, was like, you as a fan or watching this or whoever can shit on JJ's stats. The reality is they did what they needed to win games, and everybody that was of importance in the NFL and in college realized that he's a really good quarterback, right? And so I think, my prediction for how they use Bryce Underwood is they're still going to do a lot of that. Sharon Moore is still going to want to smash. There's no doubt about it. He's going to have Jordan Marshall and Ben Hall, right? For sure. Sorry, pause. Did I have to pause on that?
We're not cutting this. We're just keep rolling.
All right. But I think they're going to open it up because of how talented Bryce Underwood is.
Well, and he's effective in the run game too, right? So with Michigan last year and JJ, I think you look at Bryce Underwood, he's bigger than JJ. So he's probably able to take more hits in the run game than JJ was. And we saw that last year where they'd kind of, take that part of the offense out against certain opponents, specifically Nebraska, because they were so dog shit. I got a vendetta against Matt Rule still, Justin. But no, I think with Bryce, you're able to incorporate him in the run game. He's a threat in the run game. That's, I think, the one thing that's been missing, because you have guys like Davis Warren and Jack Tuttle who, are effective enough throwing the ball most of the time. Maybe Davis recently here. But then with Orji, he's a run threat, but he can't throw the ball. So you have now a quarterback who poses both threats, and that puts a lot of strain on defenses. So I really hope that Michigan will modernize the offense. I want to see RPOs, man. I want to see option plays for Bryce to be able to pull the ball and run. I want to see them take advantage of what college football is, and that's you're not playing in the NFL. You can be wide open. You can take advantage of mistakes from defenders because they're college football players, and you're going to have maybe 1, 2, 3. If you're playing a really good team, maybe 5, 6, 7 types of NFL guys on the other side of the ball. So you can you can get away with a lot of different things and be unique. And it's really not that hard. I watch college football all the time, Justin. I feel like Michigan makes it more difficult than it needs to be. So
I mean, we do a lot,
last year, again, won the national championship, but it was like kind of hard.
That element, well, not against Nebraska, but
or Michigan State,
or Michigan State, 49-0 is pretty easy, or pretty much like the whole season until Penn State. We did make it way harder on ourselves against Penn State than needed to be. Maybe you throw the ball a couple times, but at the end of the day, now that we've won that game after the fact, I love that we ran it 36 times in a row or whatever it was. And then, I mean, the Bama game, the Rose Bowl, yes, you did make that a lot harder on yourself because you made a ton of mistakes that you had made all year long. By the way, I'm typing a tweet out right now. This is of note. It came from Champion Circle, put out a statement about 45 minutes ago. So this was what day is it? It's Thursday night at 7:30. So this tweet went out about 6:45. This recruitment was funded by Larry and Jolynn Ellison. Are you aware of who that is?
Oracle?
He's the CEO and founder of Oracle.
Holy shit.
He is the 4th wealthiest man in the world.
Wow.
So when you were talking about, yes, Michigan has some people that has some dogs. Michigan's got some
dogs. A dog. That's a dog right there,
That's
brother.
the doggest of dogs. He's got
$231 billion.
Unlimited money. Unlimited money. So hey, Oregon Ducks, you're watching this. I know you said you have unlimited NIL with Phil Knight. You ain't got shit compared to what we've got now.
Just wait until we teach Larry Page how football works. He's going to be excited.
I mean, it's you literally, it's one of those things where like, it's not worth him. I don't know. What are those things where like, if he drops like a bag of $1,000, it's like not worth him to stop and pick it up because he made over 1,000 that lasts like 5 seconds. Oh, it's that type of money. And it's one of those things that like, if he spent $50 million on Michigan NIL, like he wouldn't even notice that it's gone.
That's the equivalent of my $50 that I will occasionally send to the Those Who Stay Fund. It's exactly what that is.
Correct.
Yeah. Just an unbelievable amount of wealth. Shout out to capitalism on that one. Working in Michigan's favor. You'll love to see it. We should just, Justin, I think we should just drop all this podcast nonsense and just start an Oracle type of company. Just some sort of,
I would love to.
Software company.
What did we say? Sorry, I'm tweeting. 200 how many billion?
$231 billion according to Forbes. That's crazy. That is awesome. And I think they should just start going down the 247 rankings. Like, hey, this guy, obviously want to verify it with your ghost scouts and watch the film.
I'm sorry. I've got to. Jordan Lewis just tweeted, after the spring game, I'm about to be passed out in Skeeps.
That's incredible. Shit. Jordan Lewis is so funny. Oh, I want to share one more thing that I have to share at this point. So Sam Webb tweeted, shout out to Sam, because Sam was really on top of this thing and was responsible in reporting on it. And we, Justin, that's mainly from you tweeting on the account, so nobody come at me. But you've obviously, you have some knowledge of the situation. But there were some people that were very reckless in their reporting throughout this saga.
Right.
But Sam tweeted, he said, the last time that I recall Michigan getting a 5-star in-state basketball player and 5-star in-state football player in the same year was 1991, and the players were Chris Webber and Tyrone Wheatley. So Trey McKinney obviously commits to Michigan, 5-star out of Flint, and Michigan gets Bryce Underwood, 5-star to Belleville. What a time, man. What a time to be alive. Excited for the future. It's just nice to be kind of able to look towards something again. We've had a lot of conversations on this pod, a lot of doom and gloom. Hey, all these guys are leaving. What's happening?
We've been very negative over the past, 9 weeks, 10 weeks. We haven't been very positive other than post MSU game. So this is the time. So shout out to Caleb. We're positive. Positive vibes only.
Vibes are here, man.
I mean, it does in all seriousness, change the entire narrative of Sharon Moore and the trajectory of this program. right? Because if you miss out on this, quote unquote, miss out, right? If you would have missed out on this on Bryce Underwood and you're going into the portal season, you have to land a pretty damn good quarterback to have to have close to this type of excitement, right? But now you're looking at it and you're pretty damn excited. Like this is, Michigan now already. I know we're not even finished with this season, but you're going to go into 2025 with, I don't know, one of the top 5 most hyped up rosters, probably. You go from a diminished offense that really you're only excited about Kalel Mullings, sometimes Donovan Edwards, and Colston Lovell. And you go from that to, I don't know, depending on what they do in the portal, in what happens in this recruitment, you're pretty excited about just about everyone.
I would like to make a take right now that next year, Michigan's going to get receivers in the portal, correct? That's going to happen.
Correct.
I think.
First of all, manifest that, please. Manifest that. I want Nico Collins. Please bring me Nico Collins because I need somebody like that. I need a big dog. Because
that was gonna be my point. You have actual outside receivers. I think Tyler Morris can be a guy in the slot. I think if you play him in the slot surrounded with capable receivers on the outside, that he's going to be a good football player. So I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen with this team and what it's going to look like next year, but it's very exciting. I'm stoked, and I can't wait to just read 24/7 all night until I go to bed. It's going to be electric. I'm going to be posting gifts, upvoting everybody. It's going to be a great time because I'm a recruiting sicko. I've followed recruiting since I was in high school. It's enjoyable. It sometimes kicks you in the nuts, but it's just entertaining. And it gives you something to think about and look at outside of actually just watching the games. Because if you only watch the games, you get what? Regular season, 36 hours of entertainment. Brother, I go on 247. I'm on the recruiting board. That shit is entertaining every day. So I want to be enjoying it. And this has just been an absolutely crazy evening, which is weird to say about a high school kid making his college choice. But it's very impactful for Michigan on the field, off the field. And I can't wait to come back on here and talk about what other flips are happening, what other movements.
This makes Michigan's offseason like the best.
Absolutely.
This literally changes everything.
Dude, think about college football 26 next year, loading in with 19. What's his rating going to be? Number 1 player, best high school recruit since whoever. It's got to be like 84, 85, right? Like we're going to be cooking with oil on CFP next year.
CFB/NCAA/ whatever you want to 25, whatever you want to call it. I mean, that he is going to be the most fun guy to talk about.
Oh,
right? You're talk about play with anything, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean,
he's 6'5", 200 some pounds. He just runs like a 4.5. Like that throw he made against. Was it Howell?
Celine, I think.
Was it Celine?
Either
like
Celine or Howell, yeah.
60 yards, flick of the wrist. Like, all right.
Like, literally on the run, he didn't even turn his shoulders. Like, it was crazy. So, all right. Wait, last thing I want to say. Like, how do we have to, like, constantly tell ourselves to pump the brakes a little bit?
True freshman quarterbacks typically aren't that good. Except for like
how many? Yeah, like Trevor Lawrence won a natty, right, as a true freshman.
So who else? Like Jalen Hurts was good as a true freshman, but that was a different style of football that he was kind of playing at that point. Who am I missing? I don't really know. True freshman quarterbacks that have been that good.
Well, I mean, Henny was a true freshman, right?
True, but they also went 7-5.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's probably one caveat. Like true freshman quarterbacks aren't typically that great.
So, I mean, that's okay. Let's put this caveat in there that, like, if Michigan goes 9-3, that can we not just like completely panic? I know that I don't know if ourselves and Michigan fans as a whole are capable of that, but can we not panic?
I would also like to correct myself. They went 9-3 with Chad Henne as a freshman. It was the year after that he struggled. So I don't want anybody to come for me.
Somebody would have.
I mean, honestly, Lawrence is like the only guy I can really think of, but this is a different type of recruit with Bryce Underwood, right? Like it's not like, oh, he's got to do this. There's no like, oh, he brings his arm too low in his release. There's none of that shit. This is like, he's pretty polished. So,
dude, he's like, I don't know. I'm not EJ Howland. I'm not Bryce Marriage. I'm not out there watching a ton of high school football on the daily to try and evaluate guys. So actually, what we will do is we'll have Bryce on our next podcast here to talk about this, and he can talk more on this. But actually, should I ask EJ too, as well, or
ask whoever you want, brother.
okay, cool.
We'll just let him know you're from the random podcast.
Random podcast. He just looks different, man. He moves different. His arm is different. You know, honestly, even legitimately, like, I love JJ more than anybody, right? Like, I love him to death, but he was a baby when he came in, right? And even he was different than what we had seen. But Bryce is different, man. He is built different. JJ wasn't 6'5", right? JJ was big. JJ actually was way bigger than most people give him credit for, but he got big when he was a junior. He was a twig when he was a freshman. So that's where I would say Bryce is already, you know, to that level. So, man, I'm so excited. Again, it just changes everything. It changes the portal, which happens in what? I don't know, 3 weeks?
Yeah, a few weeks, couple weeks.
3 weeks. It changes everything for that because now instead of Michigan calling people are calling Michigan, right? It changes the recruiting class already. You saw Eli Dotson commit last night. You saw Meadows get flipped. I guarantee you there will be a couple other linemen that flip. There will be a couple of receivers that flip. And then it just changes the trajectory for next year completely, right? So all of a sudden you go from starting the season unranked and zero hype and blah, blah, blah to you go from, all right, we're going to have to give Sharon's 3 years because that's how long it'll take to build this back up, to you can be a CFP contender in 2025. That's what it is.
Yeah, man. Absolutely crazy. When you texted that it was going to happen, I was like, there's what, you know? So just surreal that it happened, which is, again, crazy to say about recruiting, but like, this is probably one of the biggest flips of all time in college football history, right? You think about going back to when recruiting was, you know, is what it's been over the last however many decades of like actually coaches doing this, versus just hiring ringers back in the day.
And I'm gonna give a little tidbit of info here for the people that have listened 40 minutes in. So shout out to you if you're still listening and didn't tune out, which I wouldn't blame you either. We're idiots.
We're just rambling and just like, this is so sick.
Yeah, I mean, this is like we probably should have went live, to be honest, because that's more like the vibe of this. But yeah, this recruitment was dead in the water last Friday. Last Friday, this recruitment was, there was 0% chance that Bryce Underwood was going to Michigan. 0% chance. I'm saying that with a ton of confidence. This is how recruiting goes in the year 2024. You've seen Michigan. I actually saw something about even just the decommits that Michigan has had. Like, if you just put together the decommits that Michigan has had this class, like, that's a pretty damn good class.
Probably higher rated than some Big Ten schools.
Seriously. And so this was dead in the water last Friday. LSU this Saturday happens, right? Brian Kelly screaming at kids. They're going nowhere. Their program is not in a good spot. And now Michigan has been there the whole time. The relationship's been built. They make it happen this week. Again, shout out to Champion Circle. Shout out to Jared Wangler. Shout out to Sharon, Sean McGee. Shout out to Albert Karshnia as well. I mean, unbelievable job by them to make this happen, because there was a literal 0% chance this was going to happen 5 days ago. And so it is crazy how this world works, but it is an awesome ending for Michigan that doesn't happen that often, especially in the recruiting world. So I'll leave you guys with that little tidbit.
I've got nothing else to add, man. I enjoyed my Blantons, my bourbon.
Cheers, baby.
I already drank it. I'm not gonna pour it more. It's all right. I'll drink my Gatorade. There's probably an Ohio State fan that's like, "Oh, you need that to chase," even though I drank it like 15 minutes after I had my bourbon.
Somebody's gonna say that.
It's totally fine. I get it. I get it.
I mean, shout out to Hail IPA. Shout out to Truly, Sun Cruiser. We appreciate you guys.
Come to the tailgate. Justin will not be able to attend, unfortunately, but I will be there setting up around 8 in the morning. And honestly, it feels like the vibes are going to be a lot.
All of a sudden, this changes everything for Saturday.
Yeah, I just hope it. I don't know. I just hope it doesn't snow like it did this morning. I don't think it's supposed to, but going to be a late November day in Ann Arbor, Michigan, and there's no place I'd rather be. So come check it out. We're gonna have some Hail IPA. We've got a couple other things. Unfortunately, we'll not have any Sun Cruiser or Truly for this weekend, but we'll have enough. We'll make sure that we get some hard beverages out there.
There you go.
So come on out, say what's up. Let's celebrate. Let's get ready for senior day and go wish off some Michigan legends. Wish them well, man. There a lot of guys playing their last game in the big house, and a lot of guys that have meant a lot to this program, have contributed a lot to this program, and are the reason that we get to sit here and talk about Michigan winning the national championship last year. They're playing their last game at the big house on Saturday. So let's go and let's have a good time. But yeah, come to the tailgate, man. We'll be there. Got a TV, got a heater. It's all in my truck, baby. So we're gonna be having a good time.
Love it. Well, for us, you can follow us at Blue by 90 on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Blue by 90 Podcast on YouTube, and BlueBy90.com. We appreciate you. Go Blue.
Go Blue.